Have you ever stopped to think about where real growth happens? Sometimes it's kind of hidden in plain sight in industries you wouldn't immediately pick out. Today we're doing a deep dive into exactly one of those, the global blinds, shade and shutter installation service market. Maybe a bit surprising, right? We're going to unpack some really detailed data from cognitive market research to give you the full story.
Exactly. And it might seem niche, but this market, it's actually a fascinating indicator, of global economic health, consumer trends. Our mission today is really to trace that growth story. We've got the sales figures from 2021, projections for 2025, and then way out to 2033. Plus, we'll look at the STED-GRs, the compound annual growth rates shaping it all. It's amazing what insights you can find even in these less obvious sectors.
Okay, so let's unpack this, starting with the big picture, the global view. This market for installing blinds, shades, shutters, it was already pretty substantial back in 2021, just over $500 million, 513.741 million, but it's really on the move, the projection. Over $630 million, $633.4 million by 2025. And it doesn't stop there. It keeps expanding, expected to reach nearly $1 billion, 962.822 million by 2033. That represents a pretty solid overall growth rate, globally speaking, a KGR of about 5.374% across that whole forecast period.
And what's fascinating there, I think, is just how consistent that growth is. Steady. For an industry that maybe you don't immediately associate with massive expansion, that tells you something. It points to a really robust, sustained demand. Maybe it's new houses being built, maybe people renovating more, or, getting into smarter, energy-efficient window stuff. It just keeps ticking upwards.
Yeah, steady growth. But here's where it gets, I think, really interesting when you break it down by region, because different parts of the world, they're contributing in quite different ways. Let's start with North America. It's a big player, no doubt. Accounts for, roughly a third of the whole market. Their sales were close to $175 million in 2021. That's $174.672 million. And that's projected to grow to over $309 million by 2033. The growth rate there, the CAGR, is solid, about 4.872%.
And within North America, the U.S. obviously holds the largest share. Its market is projected to go from about $144 million in 21, $144.279 million, up to over $250 million by 33. That's $251.981 million. The CAGR is just under 4.8%, so 4.755%. But what's quite interesting as you dig in is Canada.
Right.
Yeah, Canada's showing a noticeably higher average growth rate, closer to 5.7%, 5.688%. Actually. And Mexico's doing well, too, contributing significantly, growing at about 5.05%.
That Canadian number really does jump out, though, almost a full percentage point higher than the U.S. rate. What do you think might be driving that? I mean, any thoughts on the sort of nuances in Canada fueling that faster growth in blinds and shutters? Is it housing or maybe adopting certain tech faster?
That's a really sharp observation. The data doesn't spell out the why explicitly, of course, but we can speculate a bit. Maybe Canada's seeing a particular boom in, say, high-density urban housing, or perhaps a quicker uptake of more premium, custom solutions. It could also just be, a market that was maybe less saturated before and is now playing catch-up quite rapidly. It really shows how local conditions can tweak those global trends.
Yeah, the Canadian example really highlights those regional differences, doesn't it? Let's see if we find similar dynamics as we shift over to Europe now, another really key region. Europe sales. They started around $151 million back in 2021. That's $151.04 million. And they're projected to grow to over $270 million, 271.516 million by 2033. So that's an average growth, a CAG, of about 5.05%. Pretty consistent.
Yeah, Europe's growth is, quite solid overall, but you definitely see some standouts and also some slower areas. Germany, for instance, looks particularly strong. Its average growth rate is over 5.7%,
Right.
5.747%. It's set to basically double its 2021 market size by 2033. Started at $30 million, heading towards $58 million.
Oh.
Yeah.
Right.
And other big players like the UK, Spain, Sweden, they're also showing robust growth, generally in that 5.2 to 5.3% range.
Okay.
France is a bit lower, 4.5%. Italy around 4.7%. Denmark, 4.77%. Switzerland a bit lower again, 4.3%. On the other end, though, you've got Russia. Its CAGR is lower, about 3.35%. And Luxembourg, while it's a very small market, just $0.755 million in 2021, shows the lowest growth in Europe, just over 2.1%, 2.162% CAGR. The rest of Europe collectively is around 5.085%.
That contrast is quite stark, isn't it? Germany powering ahead versus, say, Russia or Luxembourg growing much more modestly.
Right.
It really speaks to the different economic situations, maybe different consumer focuses within Europe itself. Okay, so North America showed consistency. Europe showed some variance. Now, Asia Pacific. This looks like a region that's really, well, dynamic. It was already significant, sales around $107 million in 2021, $107.372 million.
Yeah.
But the expansion projected here is huge, more than doubling to over $227 million by 2033. 227.226 million.
Yeah.
And crucially, this region has the highest regional average growth rate anywhere in the world, an impressive 6.455%.
Oh, absolutely. The growth across Asia-Pacific is really something else. You see it pretty much everywhere. China's leading the pack in terms of market size, of course, projected to more than double by 2033, growing at an average of 6.65%. So $32.7 million up to nearly $71 million. But India is showing just exceptionally strong growth. It has the highest country's CAGR in our whole analysis, soaring at over 7.3%, 7.335% to be exact.
7.3%.
Yeah. It means India's market for these installation services is on track to more than double in, well, less than 10 years. From $14.5 million to nearly $34 million. Singapore's also very strong, CAGR over 6.7%. Southeast Asia as a whole growing at 7%. Japan, South Korea, Australia, Taiwan all seeing strong growth too, mostly between 5.5% and 6%.
Wow, that Indian growth rate. It's truly remarkable. What do you think that implies? I mean, for blinds and shutters specifically, is it just sheer population, or is there something more fundamental changing in how people are setting up their homes?
That's a great question. And I think it points to something deeper than just population numbers. That kind of explosive growth, especially in India, it really signals a rapidly expanding middle class, doesn't it? One that's prioritizing home aesthetics, functionality. It suggests a big jump in discretionary spending. People aren't just building homes, they're actively investing in upgrading them, maybe even leapfrogging straight to more sophisticated, energy efficient, or just, modern window solutions. It feels like a very aspirational market. Really dynamic.
Very dynamic indeed. Okay, let's head south now. South America, also showing healthy expansion. It grew from about $34 million in 2021, $33.907 million, and is projected to hit over $65 million by 2033, $65.684 million. That gives it an average growth rate, a CGR, of about 5.65%.
And within South America, Brazil is naturally a major contributor. Started at $14.1 million. Its KGR is around 5.5%. But Argentina actually shows a particularly strong average growth rate, over 6.1%, 6.154%. So outpacing Brazil in terms of growth speed.
Interesting.
Yeah. And other countries like Colombia, Peru, Chile, they're also seeing solid growth, generally in that 5% to, say, 5.9% range. It looks like broad-based, steady expansion across the region.
Okay, let's turn our focus now to the Middle East. That market recorded sales getting close to $26 million in 2021, $25.687 million, projected to nearly double, reaching over $49 million by 2033, $49.268 million. And the average growth rate there is about 5.56%.
Right. And here we see some quite strong performers, definitely signs of rapid development in places. Saudi Arabia has a solid CGR of 5.65%. Turkey is showing growth close to 6%, 5.954%. The UAE looks particularly dynamic. Its average growth rate is over 6.1%, 6.152%. That really points to a very active construction and renovation scene.
And you can imagine that.
Absolutely. And countries like Egypt and Qatar are also contributing solid growth, both above 5%. Rest of the Middle East a bit lower, around 4.76%.
All right, and finally, let's cover Africa. The market there reached about $21 million in 2021, $21.063 million. It's projected to grow to over $40 million by 2033. $40.063 million. The average rate is about 5.02%. Now, that is the lowest regional average growth rate among all the regions we've looked at.
It is the lowest regional rate, yeah, but it's still a story of consistent expansion. 5% growth is still solid. Nigeria contributes with a CAGR of about 5.3%. 5.294%. And South Africa actually shows the strongest average growth rate within Africa at nearly 5.6%, 5.592%. The rest of Africa is growing a bit slower, around 4.37%. So it indicates steady, if maybe more moderate, expansion across the continent, probably linked to ongoing urbanization, economic development, that sort of thing. So when you pull all this regional data together, what really stands out is, well, not just the overall upward trend, but those really different dynamics playing out. Asia-Pacific clearly leading the charge on growth rates, especially India, Singapore, Southeast Asia. You feel that's propelled by, rising consumer wealth, economic development. But you also see that strong, consistent performance in places like Germany and Europe or Argentina and South America. That points to maybe more diversified drivers, renovation cycles, pushes for energy efficiency, maybe specific design trends taking hold. The global picture, it's one of widespread expansion, definitely. But it's varied, and it seems driven by very specific local factors underneath it all.
So wrapping this up, what does this all mean for you, our listener? Well, I think it really underscores the consistent, quite significant expansion of this market globally. We're talking about an industry that was already pulling in over $500 million in 2021, and it's heading towards $1 billion globally by 2033. And these aren't just abstract numbers, right? It tells us a lot about how consumer trends are evolving, maybe about rising incomes in different parts of the world, and just about the sort of silent infrastructure of our homes and businesses that's constantly being upgraded. It's a market that maybe it's not flashy, but it's clearly foundational and obviously in high demand as people continue to invest in their living and working spaces. What an incredible journey, really, through the world of blinds, shades, and shutter installation. From North America right across to Asia, Pacific, Europe, Africa. We've seen this picture of pretty consistent, significant expansion projected all the way out to 2033. It certainly makes you look at your own windows a bit differently, maybe.
It really does. And perhaps it leaves us with a final thought to ponder. Just consider how many of these everyday industries, the ones that seem almost mundane, might be quietly humming along, growing into these huge multi-billion-dollar markets. What other invisible sectors are out there? The sort of unsung heroes of our economy, shaping our daily lives, shaping the financial landscape in ways we just don't often discuss or maybe even notice.
Welcome to today's deep dive. We are getting into a market that might seem, pretty specific at first glance. The blinds, shade, and shutter installation service market.
Right.
But here's the thing, and this is really interesting for you, what looks like just a simple service. It's actually showing us a lot about bigger economic shifts, tech changes, design trends, all happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's unpack this. We're diving into research from Cognitive Market Research today, our mission, to really explore what's shaping this sector, the drivers, the things holding it back, and, well, some surprising trends that are changing the whole game.
What's fascinating here is exactly that connection. You think, okay, window coverings, simple.
Yep.
But it's really not. It plugs into interior design, home energy efficiency, which is huge now, and of course the whole smart living explosion. It's all interconnected.
That's a great point. It really sets us up nicely. So let's talk drivers. What's really pushing growth here? I mean, one thing seems to be this huge interest in interior design, right? Making our homes unique.
Absolutely. People want their homes to reflect them. It's not just about function anymore.
So what does that mean for, the window treatments specifically and the installers?
Well, it means the installer's job is changing, big time. This focus on style, on customization, it means homeowners aren't just looking for someone to put up the blinds correctly.
They want advice.
Yeah, they want expertise. They want someone who gets the whole look, who can advise on how the blinds or shutters fit into the overall design. It's almost like needing a design consultant, not just a technician. It requires a different skill set, really, aesthetic sense, creative solution.
Okay, so it's the whole visual package. Makes sense. Now, beyond individual homes, where else is demand really picking up?
Oh, definitely in new construction, both residential and commercial. I mean, just think about it.
Right.
Every new apartment building, every office park, hotels, you name it, they all need window coverings. Lots of them.
And for developers, getting that done professionally is key, I imagine.
It's non-negotiable. They've got deadlines. They need things fitted right, especially for energy ratings sometimes. And frankly, it boosts the property value. Professional installation is just part of the deal for new builds. It's foundational.
Okay, and then there's the energy efficiency angle and smart homes. You touched on that. We know blinds help control temperature.
Yeah, basic physics, right?
Right.
Block sun, keep heat in or out.
But what's the smart part really adding here?
Right.
How does that create opportunity?
It's a massive leap, isn't it? From pulling a cord to, well, automation. People are way more aware of energy use, and smart home tech is just taking off. So things like motorized blinds, automated shutters controlled by an app, maybe voice commands. Consumers are actively looking for that now. And the installer, there's suddenly this crucial link in the smart home chain.
So it's not just about hanging the thing straight anymore.
Not at all. It's about wiring, system integration, making sure it talks to Alexa or Google Home or whatever platform they're using. That technical skill becomes just as important as the physical installation. It really shifts the business model, you know? It's less traditional trade, maybe a bit more like IT support sometimes.
Wow. Okay, so it really sounds like a lot of positive momentum. Design trends, new buildings, cool tech.
Yeah.
But it can't all be smooth sailing.
Oh.
What are the big hurdles, the restraints.
No, definitely not all smooth. And yeah, cost is a big one. Let's be honest, custom window treatments, especially the high-end stuff, the motorized options, they aren't cheap.
Right.
And then you add the professional installation fee on top. For some people, especially if they're on a tighter budget, that total cost can just be too much, a barrier.
I can see that. And think about renters too, right? Investing that much in something fixed isn't always practical.
Exactly. And that ties into another challenge, the whole DIY movement.
Ah, yes, the do-it-yourself options.
Yes,
The
yeah.
pro stuff is expensive.
Then people look for alternatives. And online retailers, big box stores, they make it pretty easy now. Lots of products are designed to be user-friendly.
So more people are just installing basic blinds themselves.
For sure, especially for standard windows,
Hmm.
simpling jobs, and that directly eats into the market for professional services. It forces installers to really prove their value, to show why paying extra is worth it.
Makes sense. It's direct competition. Is there anything else making that DIY route seem more attractive or maybe impacting the quality of service overall?
Yeah, unfortunately, there's a real shortage of skilled labor in many areas. Finding qualified installers, people who can handle the standard stuff and the complex smart home integrations, it's tough. And that shortage leads to problems. Longer wait times for customers, maybe mistakes because jobs are rushed, just general frustration.
Which could damage the reputation of the whole professional service idea.
Absolutely. It can really tarnish a company's image. And yeah, it might subtly push some potential customers back towards DIY or maybe towards cheaper, less qualified competitors. It's a tricky situation.
Okay, so clear challenges with cost and labor. But despite that, you mentioned exciting trends earlier. Things reshaping the industry. Smart tech was one. How's that actually playing out?
Well, it's really picking up steam. Like we said, consumers want that convenience apps, voice control schedule, so installers are having to seriously upskill.
Learning the tech side.
Exactly. Wiring, system integration, making sure everything works smoothly with different smart home ecosystems. It's not just about selling a new type of blind, it's creating whole new service offerings, new revenue streams. It lets companies stand out, offer something high value.
And beyond the gadgets, what other consumer values are shifting things?
There's a definite push towards eco-friendly materials. Sustainability is big.
Right.
People are actively asking for blinds or shades made from bamboo or recycled fabrics, maybe wood from sustainable forests. So installers are responding. They're partnering with green brands, highlighting these options.
So it adds another layer to the service, being environmentally conscious.
Precisely. It clicks with a lot of households trying to reduce their impact. It's another way professional services can add value beyond just the installation itself.
Okay, and one last trend, something we see everywhere. Online convenience. How's that hitting this market? Booking, consultations.
Oh, hugely important. Consumers just expect digital options now. It's the norm.
Yeah.
So things like virtual consultations, where maybe you show the installer the room over video chat, online measurement guides, super easy scheduling tools. Companies have to invest in these digital platforms.
Streamlines everything.
Totally. Makes it smoother, more transparent about pricing and timing, helps build better customer relationships. Especially in cities or with younger demographics, that digital ease of use can be the deciding factor.
Okay, so let's just quickly recap. We've dug into the forces driving growth, personal design, construction booms, smart tech, sustainability. We've also looked at the hurdles, cost pressures, the DIY trend, labor shortages, and finally, these emerging trends like deeper smart integration and online services. Understanding all this, you really get a handle on a specific, but actually quite revealing part of the economy. It's changing fast.
And that leaves us with a really interesting question for you to think about. We've got this rising demand for the fancy stuff, high-end, smart, sustainable window treatments. But at the same time, DIY is growing and finding skilled installers is getting harder. So how does professional window treatment installation evolve from here? Does it become like an ultra-specialized exclusive service just for complex smart homes and luxury projects? Or does innovation maybe lead to new kinds of service models, things that bridge the gap between that premium end and the DIY crowd, maybe new tiers of service, different ways of working? What does that future look like?
That's a fantastic question. Really highlights how dynamic this space is. If you want to explore this more, dig into the data behind our chat today. You can find the full report from Cognitive Market Research. Thanks so much for joining us for this deep dive. We hope you'll tune in again soon.